Tonight on 3 News, Paula Bennett loses her Waitakere seat, but National wins in Christchurch Central, and Parliament gets its first deaf MP.
A Kiwi man is on the run after allegedly defrauding the Queensland Health Service of $21 million.
Medical staff at an Indian hospital are accused of abandoning their patients to a fire that killed at least 89 people.
And got it, but can the Black Caps go all the way against the Aussies in Hobart?
3 News with Emma Jolliffe and Simon Shepherd.
Kia ora, good evening. Social Development Minister Paula Bennett has lost her seat at Waitakere by a mere 11 votes to Labor's Carmel Sepuloni after the counting of the special votes. In Christchurch Central, which was a dead heat on election night, Brendan Burns has lost the previously safe Labor seat to National's Nicky Wagner. And the Greens have gained another List MP, Mojo Mathers, who's also New Zealand's first deaf MP. That means that National now has 59 seats, and with the help of ACT's John Banks and United Future's Peter Dunn, they have enough to form a majority government. Jeff Hampton has more.
I'm in a position to formally announce that the National Party, along with the support of ACT and United Future, is in a position to form a government.
Happy days are here again.
The National Coalition government was boosted by the news they've taken the traditional Labor stronghold of Christchurch Central. The seat was tied on the night, but the final count has National's Nicky Wagner winning by just 45 votes.
It was just lovely. You could just relax for a minute, you know. I mean, I know there's probably going to be a challenge and everything else, but, you know, you go through one thing at a time, take your wins when you get them and enjoy them.
Wagner's win means it's goodbye to Labor's Brendan Burns. He can't get back on the list and is now out of a job. Christchurch Central was one of the hardest hit in February's earthquake. Burns says that's the main reason for his defeat.
We lost 20 booths in Christchurch Central as a result of the earthquake. 14 of those were booths that I'd won last time. 3,000 fewer people enrolled in the electorate, 5,000 fewer people actually voted in the electorate.
To the new MP for Waitakere.
But the news is better for Labour in the West Auckland electorate of Waitakere. Their candidate, Carmel Sepuloni, trailed high-profile Cabinet Minister Paula Bennett by 349 votes on election night. But now on specials, Sepuloni is 11 votes ahead.
11 votes is 11 people, and they represent 11 families, so that's huge, and I don't want to ever hear anyone say that their vote doesn't count going into the future.
Bennett will be back in Parliament as a List MP, but her loss is one small positive Labour can take from a poor election night showing.
Politics is brutal. You know, I always think if you wanted a nice smooth run of things, then this is not the job to get into. And it's those of us that are tough enough to stand up to that and actually roll with those sorts of punches that are going to make the biggest difference.
Things could change yet again as both defeated candidates, Paula Bennett and Brendan Burns, have indicated they'll go for a judicial recount. Jeff Hampton, 3 News.
And later in the programme, we'll have a profile on new Green List MP, Mojo Mathers, New Zealand's first ever profoundly deaf MP. Meanwhile, MMP is set to stay, with voters choosing to keep the current electoral system as part of the referendum held in the general election. The results show more than 57% voted to stick with MMP, while the remainder wanted to change to another system.
This is the system where voters get to decide what Parliament looks like. And we may not always be happy with what Parliament looks like, but it is our choice and our votes in the end.
First past the post was the most popular alternative, with just over 46% of the votes. An independent review of MMP will begin on Monday, and the Electoral Commission will recommend changes to Parliament.
A Kiwi man is on the run, suspected of defrauding the Queensland Health Service of more than 21 million New Zealand dollars. Hohepa Moruhu Barlow is accused of taking most of the money in a period of just 2 weeks, and it's emerged he was investigated last year for defrauding the same employer but cleared. Michael Morrow reports.
Hohepa Moruhu Barlow, also known as Joel, was a trusted employee at Queensland Health, a high-flying socialite in Brisbane. The 36-year-old is now wanted over allegations he ripped off his former state employer to the tune of more than 21 million New Zealand dollars.
A fraud of this nature may well be the most serious breach of public administration in the living memory of our state.
Moruhu Barlow still has family in the Coromandel where he grew up. He went to Thames High School. A representative at a local marae told 3 News he was a talented kapa haka performer and always had a gift with numbers. Police in Queensland say he's used those skills to deceive and swindle the state. This is his $6 million apartment in an upmarket Brisbane suburb that's now being inspected by the police.
We've worked all night and throughout today attempting to locate Mr Barlow, so far without success.
The police started investigating on Thursday, but yesterday Barlow failed to show up at work where he was part of the finance division. It's alleged the public servant forged the signatures of senior colleagues and transferred funds into his own account.
Very serious matter involving a very extensive fraud of public funds.
To make matters worse, he was investigated for fraud at Queensland Health last year, but that allegation wasn't substantiated.
It certainly raises significant question marks over what took place 12 months ago.
I want to know how that could happen. I want to know where the hole in the system is.
Opponents of the government say it's appalling the last investigation cleared Murahu Barlow and allowed him to stay at Queensland Health.
It is a complete disgrace. Queenslanders will be paying yet again for a breakdown in government services presided over by a tired 20-year Labor government.
It's been reported Barlow has a criminal history in New Zealand. Despite that, he was given a top state job in Australia with financial responsibilities. Police in New Zealand say at this stage they've had no official requests for help from their Australian counterparts. Michael Morrow, 3 News.
Police say the death of a 12-month-old South Auckland boy is now being treated as a homicide. Terepo Tora Griffiths died last month at Starship Hospital. A post-mortem examination has revealed Terepo died after suffering a skull fracture to the rear of his head and a massive brain bleed. Meanwhile, West Auckland police are investigating the death of a father and his 2-year-old son. The bodies were discovered in a house late yesterday. Police are not looking for anyone else in connection with the deaths.
A 3 News investigation into the country's superannuation scheme has revealed hundreds of millionaires are claiming the pension, and economists say that's absurd. There are now calls from top economists for the scheme to be means-tested here, just as it is in Australia and most other developed countries. Brooke Sabin reports.
For pensioners, it doesn't matter if you drive one of these, or one of these, or spend your Saturday in this, or something slightly more luxurious. For those over 65, the superannuation scheme is universal. It doesn't matter what you own or how much you earn. And Gareth Morgan reckons that's crazy.
Most of our benefits are means tested, and so for consistency you should do it to super as well, especially super, because most people don't need it.
Figures requested by 3 News show most pensioners earn less than $50,000, with $500,000 falling into that category. In the income bracket 50 to 250,000, 52,000 pensioners, 250,000 to $500,000, a further 1,100 pensioners, up to 1,200,000 pensioners, and 100 pensioners earn more than $1 million a year. The IRD tell us the average income of that 100 is $2.3 million. Brian Gaynor's verdict, absurd.
I don't think it should apply to people who are earning an awful lot of money. I think that superannuation, particularly in a country like New Zealand that's under fiscal constraints, should only go to people who really need it.
New Zealand is the only country in the OECD which operates a universal pension without any form of means testing.
If they don't means test it, then it'll either keep costing taxpayers more and they'll all go to Australia, or they'll just have to keep dropping the amount of the super.
But the Retirement Commissioner is against any form of income testing.
The concerns about means testing is you have to pick an amount that people are allowed to have. And what happens is that people then, who are close around that area, start to try and hide their money as they get up to it.
And changes aren't on the Prime Minister's agenda.
I think one of the basic fundamental premises of superannuation is it's not means tested, and we have no intention of bringing in means testing.
But economists warn our superannuation scheme could be in for an early retirement unless changes are made. Brooke Sabin, 3 News.
Well, there have been dramatic developments at the EU summit in Brussels as Britain blocked a treaty designed to help save the euro. UK Prime Minister David Cameron stood against 26 other countries as they refused to agree to safeguards for the City of London. ITV's Tom Bradby reports.
If you ever want to know what it feels like to be alone in a room full of people, ask David Cameron. At this summit, he has been more isolated than any British leader in the history of the European Union. In return for signing up to a new treaty, he asked for protection for the City of London. He was told, frankly, to get lost.
I said before coming to Brussels that if I couldn't get adequate safeguards for Britain in a new European treaty, then I wouldn't agree to it. What is on offer isn't in Britain's interests, so I didn't agree to it.
Only a few months ago, they were the liberators of Libya. But here, David Cameron and his one-time ally, French President Nicolas Sarkozy, have been like ships passing in the night. The more peripheral European leaders and their acolytes have been even more withering in their criticism.
Not Europe. Brits divided and they are outside of decision-making. Europe is united.
It was not a very intelligent move, I think, because the most important trade partner of Britain is the Eurozone.
I told the British people, I'm going to Brussels to try and get a deal, but there are safeguards I need. If I don't get the safeguards, I won't do the deal. And I've absolutely been true to my word.
True to his word, he may have been, but where that leaves our relationship with our European neighbours is at this point anyone's guess.
In the news ahead, staff are accused of fleeing a fire in a hospital in India, leaving almost 90 to die. And New Zealand's newest bridge, will it solve the infamous traffic jams en route to the Coromandel?
At the top is a road